page 9.
Yep. Can we go eat fried fish later?
Huh?
Can we go have fried fish later? Man, Cheddar's got this white fish. It's called whitefish. You know?
Yeah.
Probably like cod or something like that.
Yeah.
And they fried it, and it's cheap, and man, it's good, dude. It's so good. Because you know, since we don't eat catfish or anything like that anymore, it's hard to find good fried fish going out and eating. You know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes tilapia tastes like mud.
I guess I just don't like tilapia.
I don't mean either. You know.
I got
Sam's
so
got
sick
Sam's got some nice redfish,
Yeah.
and you don't see it's hard to find redfish.
Oh, I know.
They got some
Garrett's been bringing some snapper home from the coast.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. I'll let everybody kind of get back on here, and we're going to start on page 9 in your face. Everybody, hopefully next week y'all will try to cover a whole lot more of that other deal. But man, is that whole
Excuse me.
was that whole deal not just paralleling what's going on in the world right now? Oh my gosh!
Timely, very timely.
You know, Torah's is super cool. All right, everybody ready to rock? Let me turn this on. I guess right there. It's going.
Let's go.
Innerface class 2. Okay. Page 9. We're going to go 9 through 15. All right. Purpose of creation. This piece, I'm going to start about the 3rd paragraph. He says, the truth is we do not have the power to understand God as it is. We can't understand Him. And so if we can't understand Him, we can't understand His reasons. There's nothing we can say about God Himself. He exists, we can say no more. But we can speak about His relationship to the world. What is He trying to communicate with us there? All right? The only way to know anything about the Creator is to study the Torah, Talmud, what the Creator says, what the Creator does, how it moves, how it operates. You'll never, ever, never understand it. All right? All of it. But
Understand His name.
but if you can understand His attributes, how He acts with creation, what happens when you do this, what happens when you do that, cause and effect, stimulation from below, Hoog, the dance of Hasidim and Guvurot,
That's it.
union. If you can understand the formulas are His name. So when you understand the formulas, you do understand Him. Okay? And this is called, this relationship is interfacing with God. Zivu, making you've got to interface. This is what we're doing. This is the whole point to what we do. This is what Kabbalah is all about, is to figure out how to better understand God and Him better understand you. All right? So, and I've said this on a teaching a long, long time ago. And he says it right here. And when I read it, I was just like, man, it says God made creation because the Psalm says God is good to all. His love rests on all His deeds. God has absolutely no need to create the world. God Himself is absolutely perfect. He has no need for anything, even creation. Okay, whenever somebody says a statement like that, any time I read anything like that, a thing called a kasha pops into my head. A kasha is an apparent contradiction, an apparent question. All right? If He didn't need it, then why did He do it? God does nothing just for kicks and giggles, right? He's got a purpose for everything, all right? So when you say God created the world and it was perfect and it's all perfect, then if you really look at that on the Peshat, if it was perfect, why does it look so bad? Right? We have to ask ourselves on the Peshat, if this is perfect. See, if it was perfect and he saw the light was good and he created Adam and Hava and saw that it was good, why did he separate everything if it was good? If it was good the way it is, then why separate? All right? So, what he's trying to tell you here is the basic kindergarten statement of God wants to bestow his goodness, all right, on the world. Well, the only way the world can contain his goodness is if we make the world a place that can contain his goodness, or else it will shatter, because it has shattered 974 times. You see? So you have to say then, well, was God imperfect those times? And so this is how you wrestle with God. This is how you get to know God. No, it wasn't imperfect then. He was too much for himself. He's better than himself. You see? Turn it around. How good is God? Too good? You see? He's so good. He can't even fit into his own shirt. You know? And so you just got to turn it around a little bit. Let's go on. God himself calls the creation of that goodness. It is for this reason, at the end of in the first 6 days of creation, after making man, the Torah says, and God saw all that he made was very good, very tov. This is what I'm talking about. What is very good? The Torah is very good. That because through the Torah he made everything. When he sees the Torah is good. So what is the good on this earth? The Torah. That's about it. But he says that man is good. This is why God made man the last order of his creation. If you read the creation story the next time he writes it, man is in the front of the creation story. What's he doing? He's looking at it from this way, and then he's looking at it from this way. It depends on where Adam is looking from. All right? And so God is trying to create something that is opposite of himself. But there's nothing opposite of himself except for himself. And so this is the difficulty trying to understand God. And so what we do is we say that there is a front side and a back side. If we understand one surface, two sides, it's easier. We can say there's one thing, male and female. When male and female get together, they make one thing. It's half of each of them. All right? God is trying to do the same thing. He is trying to create. He's always creating. He's never not creating. Every 6 days we have Shabbat. It's renewing every single week through 52 weeks, which is the 52 name of God. It says the Talmud provides us with a parable about this. A king once built a beautiful palace, decorating it lavishly, stocking it with the best food and drink. When it was all finished, he invited the guests, saying, "If there's no guest, then what pleasure does the king have with all the good that he prepared?" Where's God looking at? That's Olam Haba. That's the world to come. The world to come is Tov. It is perfect. It's because once he had to create this world, Olam Hazeh, and Olam Haba. He had to create this world to make a strong enough vessel. And the only way to do that is through tension and destruction and toughness, to be able to create enough energy, enough like a slingshot, enough force, enough tension to shoot it the other way, to where everything he would create could sustain all his goodness. All right, this is what he is doing. And so without man, God doesn't need man, yet it's the thing he created that he needed. Just like in our story we just got through saying, without stimulation from below, there's famine. It dries up. It's going to all die. So as we stimulate God, as below, so above, which is a Kabbalistic axiom, as below, so above, we are building the world to come right now. Everything we do.
Oh, no.
What?
I'm just agreeing with you. We're being dared. So
Yeah.
That's what I was
Everything is being built. That's why the Torah says, no eye has seen what the Holy One has for us in the world to come. Why? It ain't finished. It's building. He's constantly creating. It's never not stopping. The ultimate gift. On the other hand, God has no need for anything except for stimulation from below. All right? And you have to look at it like this. Let's look at God in the masculine. Let's say God's a male for the sake of this discussion. All right? If you were a male and you owned everything in the world, that money wasn't a problem, you know, you had the biggest house in the world, you had the best plane in the world, what would you want? The only thing you would want is a female to share it with. This world is female. That's what this is. This world is the female, the Hay, the Malchut, the world that he created to fill his goodness with. And one day, that world and this world are going to merge. And you're not going to know the difference between this world and that world. It's not going to matter. It's going to be all this plus more. Okay? We say that God created the world in order to bestow goodness upon man. But what is this good? The psalmist says, how great is your good stored up for those who fear you. See? Stored up. The sages interpret this to mean that God bestowed goodness in the greatest possible abundance. Another place says they teach that the verse means that God is telling us according to your strength and according to mine. Strength, strength is Guru wrote, according to your strength and according to mine. The stronger you become in God, the more he can give you. All right? The more you can stand. But what is the ultimate good? What is the greatest gift God could bestow? The answer is quite simple. Himself. Just knowing him. Being in union. The psalmist says, I have no good but you. That's the bottom line. Why do we do this? Because we love God. There's no other reason. We don't do this for any other reason. I've got plenty things to go do. Plenty. The ultimate good is to partake in God. The Kabbalists teach the concept of the Yud Hey Vav Hey. Now, there's the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. This is the Yud is 10, the Hey is 5, the Vav is 6, and the last Hey is 5. That's 26 if you add it up. So when we say Yud Hey Vav Hey is Gematria 26, that's because those are the values of the letters. All right? Now, I'm not going to go through... I will just for a second here. Okay, so if you take this Yud Hey Vav Hey and you mix the letters around. You have hey, yud, hey, all right? Hey, vav, hey, or yud, hey, yud, hey. You take all these things and move them around. They spell different words. And basically, what it's saying is, he is, he was, and he will be. All his letters, any way you read them. All right? And what it's saying is there is no past, there is no future, and there is no present. They're all one thing. God is seeing the future in his present and also seeing the past. God is in the past, seeing the present in the future. Or he's in the future, seeing his past present. It doesn't matter how you move the letters. God is from one end to the other, and he is the middle. That is what that piece is really trying to tell you. All right? I was, I will, I am, I was, I will be. All right? He's all that in the same instant, in the same moment. God exists in a realm where time does not exist. As we get to it, the term Malchut, or the lowest spherotic structure, the Nukva, the final Hey of Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, that's the only place time is relevant. Nukva literally is time. So if the Malchut goes up and goes away, time goes away, even though all the other levels are still there. He is the one that brings all existence into being. He is the source of all being and existence, and his essence permeates the creation. It says these four letters are the basis of charity. And whether it's Yom Kippur or anything or any other time in the world, it says charity removes all sin. All right? And when you do tzedakah, all right, because tzedakah is a hey that's feminine, that's the malchut we're talking about. We're talking about the hey. When you do charity, when you give tzedakah, it removes any sin. All right? That's why you see these rich Hollywood people out there. They sin like crazy, but they give more charity than anybody you know. It's a principle. All right? Doesn't mean they're not, that they got to get out of balance there, but they'll give $2 million to charity and all of a sudden they'll get a $12 million film. Well, they just gave $2 million to charity. All right? You know, it works. It's a universal principle. All right. So what it talks about here is the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. And as the charity goes, the beggar goes. Y'all have read it. I'm going to take it just a step further. Okay. This is, let's look at it in a, let's see where it even says that. The Tetragrammaton, the first Hey, represents the vessel coming to existence to hold the divine abstract power of creation. Let's just break it down to its simple common denominator, okay? The Yud is dad. The Hey is mom. Dad is in union with mom. Dad gives to mom, mom receives. All right? The Vav and the Hey, or we're going to say son and daughter. So you don't get it twisted. Let's say son and his wife. Okay? So he gives to her, she receives from him. And so every level, this level gives to this one receives. Then this level gives to this one and this one receives. And this level gives to this one and this one receives. All right? The whole way God works is charity, giving and receiving. All right? So God is trying to create something to receive his good, to Kabbalah his goodness. But there's a trick. He's trying to create something in his own image or likeness. So most people just take. They just receive. What makes you different from an animal is you're like God, likeness of God. You too are a giver. When you give back, now you are working in the same formula as He is. As He gives you Torah, you give Torah out. As He gives you finances, you give finances out. As He gives you the ability to create life, you create life. Everything works in that in this system. This is how God moves. Expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. As it just moves along. All right? So that's the whole thing basically about wrapping charity up with the Yud Hey Vav Hey there. All right? How long have we been going at?
21 minutes.
21 minutes. All right, we'll go a little longer here. We'll finish it. Okay. Now, if you look on page 12 there at the bottom, as Kabbalists explain, if God were to reveal Himself fully, creation and all that in it could not endure and would absolutely be nullified. All right? If God would reveal Himself, there would be no possibility of independent existence on any level whatsoever. It is because God restrains Himself and conceals Himself, creation can endure. This is the Simpson part. This is the contraction part. Okay? Just like your head is big, your neck contracts. Expansion, contraction, expansion. All right? This process involves one of the most important concepts in Kabbalah, the Tzimtzum. There's the word right there that y'all hear us say all the time. It's a Tzimtzum. This is contraction or self-constriction of God's light. So here's what happens. When God's presence is expanded, everything's good. When God contracts, everything's bad. When the first temple was here, God was in full expansion. In the Holocaust, He was in full contraction. When it seems like there is no God. All right? Now, there's a whole deal on this we'll get into way at a later date, but I'll just shoot this over the bow so y'all can think about it. The Torah says that God doesn't sleep. But He put Adam to sleep. All right? So, we have a kasha question, a machloket. You know, does God sleep? Man sleeps. If we're
in the image of it.
We're in the image of it. So I don't want you to wrestle with that too much. Just know expansion, contraction. You got it. All right? Stimulation from below wakes God up. Expansion. When the wife comes home, Daddy perks up. This involves, so the Tzimtzum. God must be in the world, yet if He does not restrain Himself from the world, all creation would be overwhelmed with His essence. This is going to be the world to come, you see. There is, if you look at last paragraph there is no empty place in Him. So He's everywhere, yet nowhere. Only God of Israel could come up with that. God must therefore divorce or remove or separate Himself from creation, yet at the same time, He must also remain intimately connected to it. This is the paradox of creation. So how does God be everywhere but nowhere in creation? That's Zadik. through the Torah, God can remove himself, and the tzaddik olam, the righteous man and tzedakah women on the earth, draw down through mitzvah and Torah study. We produce enough man, it draws the presence down so the earth is not destroyed, because God removes himself that much from it. This is the secret of the Rabbi and Akiva and the 10 martyrs. Had they not given their life, their living flesh, their living man, God was going to destroy the earth. It happened again in 1940s. Had the Jews not given their lives in Auschwitz, he would have destroyed the world. He had withdrawn so much, the man it needed to sustain the world had to be immense. Because you got to understand, the Jewish people are Adam and Hava themselves. What happened? Israel became the nation. All right? And so, in times of man, God uses himself to produce it. He is the one that felt the pain. When they were flaying Rabbi Akiva laughed. Who laughs? God laughs. You see, because on one side is pain, on the other side is pleasure, depending on which side you're looking at. All right? We're stuck on this side, unfortunately. Now, let's get into free will here for a few minutes, because I have not a problem with this, not an issue with this. Just from studying it for a while, I think that they should have termed it free choice. Because, to me, free will is I can stop something and like breathing. Because will comes from Yahida, the top level of the soul. Comes from the tip of the yud, right? And none of us have the tip of the yud. So how can we have free will? Now, we've had this discussion many times. In other words, I can't stop breathing. I can't will myself to stop breathing and still live. I can't do it. I can't will myself to breathe water. I can will myself not to eat for a time until hunger takes over or I die.
Yeah.
So really, I'm choosing not to eat. All right? And I'm choosing not to drink. I'm not willing myself not to drink. I'm choosing not to drink. Now, I can choose what I drink. I can choose when I eat. I can choose when I go to sleep. But I can't choose if I go to sleep. I can't will myself not to go to sleep. Because sooner or later, you will pass out. You see. So what I'm saying is this. I understand what he's saying here about free will. Okay? I get it. But I would rather it be free choice. I think it would help understand. It says the soul is our direct connection to the spirituality of God. Therefore, because he's bringing it on a soul level, he's saying that soul is connected to Hashem. Therefore, if Hashem has free will, then you have free will. I get it. All right? What is your free will? I set before you today life and death. Choose life. Choose. You see? This is the whole thing on soul mazel. I've been studying this with Rabbi Katz. If I have free will, I should be able to change my mazel. But the only choice I have in to do it is to do it through Torah. Therefore, I have to make the right choice to do the right will. Because if I don't make the right choice, God's will be done. You see. So, just a little bit of wrestle with that a little bit. And I don't know what y'all think about that, but that's kind of where I'm at on it. It says, on the other hand, the soul must be hidden and unseen so we can function as free, independent beings. A free, independent being is with choice. Not be overwhelmed by God's existence. This is a paradox of man's free will. I don't think it's a paradox of free will. I think it's a paradox between choice and will. But that's only my opinion. I mean, Kaplan is way above me. And it says, we can appreciate this more if we imagine ourselves constantly standing in the presence of God, in God's presence. How would we behave if God would reveal himself to us? Would we really be free? My answer to that is no. So if you're really free in front of God, then you're really not free will now. He almost answers the question for me. If we were free, constantly aware of God's existence, could we go against his will? No, you can't go against his will. And guess what? God's running it right now, and you're not going to go against it now. You may make some choices that lead to good decisions or bad decisions, but that's the basis of that. But the purpose of creation was for there to be this freedom to get close to God and come close to God. So we ask ourselves, did God know you were going to do it? Of course he did. Me and my wife talk about this all the time. And she says, well, why do it anywhere? Right? If he knows, then why do it? Why do it? Because you love him. You know? Why do I get up on Sunday mornings and make big breakfast for my family? They know I'm going to do it. Because I love them. That's why we do it. No other reason. We could go fishing. We don't have to be sitting here doing Torah. We have a free choice. But we do it because we love the will of God. This brings us closeness in a non-physical sense. The Talmud says, how can we bind oneself to God? The Lord your God is a consuming fire. How can you be close to a fire? The Talmud answers, by imitating his attributes. What is the Talmud teaching us in a spiritual sense? When two things resemble each other, then they can be close to each other. You become fire, he's fire, you become fire, so to speak. God is the giver and man is the receiver. So God's plan is to get this creature, namely a man, human, the opportunity to draw close to him. God is the giver and man is the receiver. As such, these are opposites. God had to make opposites so then he could make likeness attract, which is completely opposite of what you would think. North Pole and North Pole repel each other. But the Talmud's saying, no, these two like things attract each other. Because in 3D, it's inverted. Opposite attract each other. But God has to make an opposite so that when it flips, we're like him. He's like, well, hey, yeah, you like pizza? Love pizza, man. Yeah, well, I like pizza. So then you become alike. And for those of you who have been married a long time, you know that after 20 years plus, 25, maybe even 30 years, you don't even have to talk to your spouse about what you like. They know what you like. And they know what you don't like. That's called the button. All right. So, as long as a man is a mere receiver, he stands opposite pole away from God, the giver. That's what we talked about a while ago. Therefore, God arranges things so that man himself would have to be a creator on his own and a master of his own perfection. And he would have to resemble the Creator and give goodness. So how does God... so you're giving back to your family, whatever, your friends, in whatever occupation you are. You're giving goodness. You're trying to emulate God. All right? But how do you give back to God? Top of the next page, top of 15. First, man must earn the good that God has prepared. Secondly, he must receive this good. All right? Then ultimately, you're going to have to give it back. God gave you something good. Right here. When you do what's good, when you do what's good, then good goes up. Now he's receiving what's good. This is called Torah and mitzvah. When you do what God said, then you, because he's doing what he said, so if you're doing what he said, now you're alike. And now you're both receiving and you're both giving, and now you're in union with the Holy One. It's counterintuitive, but it works. So, right here at the last paragraph, look what it says. For this reason, God created two levels of existence, polar opposites of each other, so that everything could eventually be on one side. He created this world, Olam Hazeh, and the world to come, the ultimate world, Olam Haba. All right? So, the more we work on this world, the more awesome that world becomes. And it's up to us to do it. He's put it in our hands. And he's given us the tools, all these tools. They're books and books and books of tools on how to do it. And of course, all you hear all day from everybody is, whatever you do, don't do anything. That's how ridiculous it is. All right? Whatever you don't do that. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, you know, if there's, 16 million Jews, right? And 15 million of them ain't doing anything? Well, if they would do it, we wouldn't have to do it. Vendell Jones 101. If the Jews would do what they're supposed to do, we could go fishing. Literally. All right? So next week, we're going to do the universes. The universes. Page 15. Now, it's going to go from page 15 to 17. We're going to do that one page, the whole class. Because if you don't have that axiom down, we can't go any further. So we're going to learn about the worlds. We're going to have to go into Adam Kadmon, which is above Adam Harishon. So we're going to have to talk about the Adams and the Eves and the souls. So it may take us 2 classes to go over this next piece, because we are fixing to get into the Histoshalut, the order of spiritual creation. And the Torah is amazing. Sages are amazing. I'll see you next week with Elijah, and we'll do Innerface 3, right? All right. You'll have a good week. Shabbat Shalom for y'all.